Unreasonable hitboxes are the source of a lot of suffering in the world, maybe all of it. The nice thing about IRL Smash, aka boxing or combat sports, is that if someone throws a fist at you, you're not going to suddenly end up behind them flying in the opposite direction of the punch, especially if the punch is still 5 feet away from you. In Smash, though, we unfortunately didn't have God, who's apparently a pretty good fighting game designer. No, we had Masahiro Sakurai. Faced with this reality, most of us accept that Smash hitboxes can be a little stupid. From moves like Wolf's forward air with its strange bulbous force field around his hand to Palutena's NAir that creates a black hole from which nothing can escape, Smash is full of characters that make life both hard and unenjoyable in neutral. In situations where your opponent's hitboxes cleanly outclass yours, there's rarely an obvious answer about what to do. For example, as Ganon against Roy, unless Ganon squeezes out a Nair point blank before Roy can throw his own Nair out, Roy's enormous disjoint is just going to cleave cleanly through Ganon. And this said, when your hitboxes are outclassed, or even when your mobility is outclassed and you're being rushed down, you're forced to take a more passive role in the match. But we've all heard the term passive used plenty, and as I define it, passive means using an attack intended to hit you, or just to cover space, to launch your own attack by exploiting some opening in your opponent's attack. For example, if I'm Ganon, I maybe shouldn't keep trying to force Roy to gargle my balls by gnashing Nair in hopes that I win in exchange eventually, but rather, I should probably find some vulnerability in his Nair and exploit it because it's generally unwise to challenge his Nair head-on. Generally speaking, when you're having trouble against a big hitbox or struggling to outmaneuver a highly mobile character, ask yourself the following questions. Can I go above the hitbox, like Belmont's forward air or Pikachu's forward air? Can I go below the hitbox, like Samus's full hop forward air or Ness's full hop forward air? Do they have to lean into their hitbox, for example, Roy's Nair, Ken's forward air, or Mewtwo's Nair? If I just hold shield and let them hit my shield instead of running away, can I punish them, for example, Fox? If you can identify at least one of these vulnerabilities in a move or approach, then you have a shot yet at winning neutral. That said, if this all sounds hard to do, well, that's because it is. After all, the idea is to overcome a disadvantage, which is intrinsically difficult. And paradoxically, when you're up against a character who can oppress you with their hitboxes or speed, you winning neutral depends on the other player using those problem moves, because those moves can actually act as your bridge to the other player. So, application number 1. Let's think of how I can challenge Roy's Nair with Ganon in spite of losing to it directly. Asking those questions I mentioned earlier, I can find some vulnerability. Though I can't directly challenge Roy's Nair with Ganon's Nair, I can use the fact that Roy leans into his Nair to sort of twist it against him. Roy's vulnerable from below when he Nairs, and he's jumping into me, so I can use my down tilt to poke him where he's vulnerable instead of frantically trying to beat him where and when he's not vulnerable. Now, the next problem is that good players won't just brainlessly use these moves at random or at inappropriate ranges like in the clip just then, rather something signals to them to use certain moves. For instance, against Bowsers, let's say, who like to full hop Nair onto people, whether it's your distance from Bowser, a move you threw out, or whatever else, something signals to the Bowser that it's time to throw that full hop Nair out. In this case, if you can't contest that full hop Nair directly or on reaction, you have to bait the Bowser's so-called full hop Nair response with some kind of movement or non-committal action so that he does the full hop Nair, but you remain in a position to punish it, or at least get closer to some kind of punish. Now, application number 2. In Ganon's case, most good Bowsers I fought will wait for me to short hop Nair, because that's just what Ganons love to do, and use that opportunity to jump into me with their Nair. So what do I do about this? I move into mid-range and short hop as if I'm going to Nair, which usually signals to the Bowser that it's full hop Nair time. Since I'm not really committed to anything yet, I'm still in a position to fade back and punish Bowser's landing like so. Now, to make sure everything sticks, let's do a brief recap. When you're having a rough time approaching another character, can't set up space against them, or just always seem to lose neutral against them, you might need to accept that you can't impose your will on them by constantly taking the initiative, and instead just let your opponent make the moves in neutral and find ways to exploit those moves. Playing a passive game, like I mentioned, is about using inconspicuous openings in the opponent's moves to attack them, rather than you yourself launching the initial attack. In essence, if you can't reach them with your own punches, wait for them to punch and then twist their arm. So, ask yourself the following 3 questions if you're getting smothered either by big hitboxes or mobility. 1. Where do they not have a hitbox, for example beneath Roy's NAir? 2. What makes them want to throw that move out, for example distance, seeing a move you did, or something like that? 3. Do you have any moves that can hit the other character from the exposed angle, like Ganon's down tilt versus Roy? And 4. Can I just hold shield instead of trying to run away and punish them out of shield, like Belmont up B against a fox who likes to dash attack? This is the basic essence of passive play. Identify some opening, do something that makes the opponent want to use their move, let them do their thing, and then get into position and punish. But it's important to understand again that being forced into passive play in the first place usually means you're at a disadvantage, and that fact is compounded by certain characters having excellent mix-up options along with their crazy hitboxes like Samus. In theory, her forward air is vulnerable from either below or above, but if she does a full hop, I can read it and I can up smash. But she could just as easily short hop it and hit me, or if I purposely run up and hold shield against it in an attempt to maybe punish her when she fades back, I could just get grabbed. So, implementing passive play isn't going to be the final irrefutable answer to problematic hitboxes or mobility, but it's the only answer many characters realistically have against superior hitboxes and mobility. It's not a definitive solution, but rather a tool that can both be used to serve you and, like anything else in this game, be turned against you with sufficient foresight on the other person's part. Hi guys, thank you as always for watching another one of my videos. It does mean quite a bit to me, and I am always very grateful that you guys take the time to do so, and hopefully you get something out of the videos as well. While we're thanking people, I want to especially thank these very fine people who have decided, or rather deemed me worthy of their support on Patreon. Now, if you would also like your name to be among these Patreon supporters, I will include a link to my Patreon in the video description, and I generally try to make support on Patreon worth people's while with things such as shoutouts at the end of videos, digital copies of songs I've written recently, particularly the ones I use in videos, like the one heard in the backing of this video, all the way up to doing live VOD analysis, such as best of 3, best of 5, any set of your choice, where I do it live either on Twitch or YouTube. So if that's something you'd like to do, like I said, link will be in the description. And at that, once again, thank you guys, and I will see you next video, which will hopefully be coming out before the end of time.